All right, welcome to In the Paint, everybody. Altitude Sports Radio. I'm live here at the Nuggets game. There is 37.6 seconds to go, and the Nuggets have pretty much wrapped this one up. It's 117 to 109, so they keep hope alive for the 4 seed in the Western Conference. Now, I've been scoreboard watching all night, and, none of that matters if the Nuggets can win tonight, which they are going to, and then Sunday in Houston. Now, the good news for Denver is Houston has locked up the 2 seed, no matter what. They have locked up the 2 seed. They can't move down. They can't move up. So I would suspect that they're not going to play many of their main guys in Sunday's matchup in Houston. As the Nuggets are just running down the clock here. Joker's got it. This thing's all but over. Joker threw up a prayer right there, and it didn't go in. But get the offensive rebound. This thing's over, folks. The Nuggets will pull this one out. Standing ovation here in Ball Arena, everybody. This crowd was going nuts tonight. So loud. I don't know if you can hear it coming through my microphone here, but this thing's over. The Nuggets win. They're 2-0 now in the Post Malone era. David Adelman gets his second win as the interim head coach. Well, now they're putting 2.1 seconds back on the clock, but it's a moot point. This game is over, and a massive win for the Denver Nuggets. I'm going to turn these lights on here in just a second, but I don't want to bother people sitting around me. Now it's over. I'm going to go turn these lights on. There we go. Okay, so game just ended. Nuggets win. We are here to discuss. We'll hear Adelman post-game sound. I'll try and get you some locker room stuff as that gets posted. Raj and Springer are actually doing an emergency pod tonight as well with the return of Gabe Landeskog. He played his first professional game in almost 3 years up in Loveland with the Eagles. So they will be on as well. We are bringing you all of the sports coverage here on our Altitude digital platforms. This was a monster victory for the Denver Nuggets. There's no question about it. They had to have this win if they want to stay in the 4 seed in the Western Conference. So good start. Now they've got to finish this thing out on Sunday. I mean, that game still matters. In fact, if we take a look at the scoreboard here, the Lakers are beating up on the Rockets. The Clippers have a 3-point lead over the Sacramento Kings. They're just getting going there in the third quarter. And the Warriors are up on Portland. So those are the teams that are battling, duking it out with the Denver Nuggets right now. So, again, this was an absolutely monster victory for the Denver Nuggets. Wow. So lots to get into here on the post-game show. As always, feel free to leave your thoughts. Nikola Jokic, by the way, everybody, just did something historical. Again, he has officially averaged a season triple-double. That is the first time in NBA history that a center has accomplished that feat. And he's probably not going to win the MVP. How crazy is that? A center averaged a season triple-double, and he's probably not going to win the MVP. That is absolutely wild. But what a great game here tonight. Look, the Nuggets, they were down in the fourth quarter. I mean, they very well could have lost this basketball game, but credit to Aaron Gordon. I thought he was the best Nugget on the court tonight. Other than Nikola Jokic, who had 16 rebounds, 12 assists, and 26 points. But Aaron Gordon was huge for the Denver Nuggets. He was 13 of 23 from the field, 33 points for AG, and, didn't have an assist, only had 4 rebounds, but what he did on the offensive end tonight for the Nuggets, there's no question that really sealed the deal in order for them to get this victory. They needed everything that they got out of Aaron Gordon. And how good is it to see Aaron Gordon these last 2 games, Wednesday in Sacramento and tonight here against the Memphis Grizzlies at Ball Arena? He looks refreshed. It looks like the Aaron Gordon we're accustomed to seeing. Obviously, he's had a very rough season, missing over 30 games with injury. But it looks like he is feeling the best he has all year, and he is playing like it. So the return of Jamal Murray tonight obviously helped. We were curious as to, what the rotation was going to look like now that Jamal is reinserted into the starting lineup. We still saw a heavy dose of Russell Westbrook, too, by the way. That was a big difference from the Kings game versus tonight, where Russ only played, I think, 17 minutes in the Kings game. Well, he played 26 minutes tonight, and he was their best player off the bench. There's no question about it. Jalen Pickett actually went scoreless and played 10 minutes. Now, before the game, David Adelman said something that was very, very interesting. In fact, I believe Vic has it on his Twitter. So let me see if I can find that, because what David Adelman said in his pregame press conference, which, by the way, he is just crushing those. He is going to be a head coach. It was absolutely awesome. But he said, you can write all the articles you want. We're going to play the best guys. We are going to play the best guys. In fact, Vic tweeted out his quote. He said, quote, "You play the people that are playing well. Whoever the last five are in this game are the guys who are playing well. Write all the articles you want. We're good. We're going to play the guys to win the game." I love hearing that from David Adelman. He does not give a bleep right now. He's going to put the guys in who are going to help this team win basketball games, period. No politics, no hurt feelings. He doesn't care about that. He is laser focused on these two, this was pregame, so these two final remaining games. It's all about getting the win, period, end of story. That's all that matters to David Adelman. So that was really cool to see. In fact, let's play a little of Coach Adelman pregame, and then obviously, like I said, I'll try and get it to you, his postgame comments as well. D-Mac was here for pregame, drove up to Loveland to catch Gabe, and then I believe he's driving back for postgame here in Ball Arena. But let's take a listen to Nuggets head coach David Adelman in his pregame presser.
Minutes, and is Jamal coming back?
Jamal at this point looks like he's going to play. We're still waiting to get the total thumbs up from the training staff. With Russ, he'll have his role like he did the other night. If that's 30 minutes, if that's 16, this is a big game, and so you play the people that are playing well. It's not about one individual player, one person. All those guys in that room are together, and they're all going to be treated the same way outside of obviously 15. So if we're going to play whoever the last five are in this game, we're going to play the guys that are playing well to win the game. That's all that matters. And we talked about that a lot as a group. Write all the articles you want. Like, we're good, and we're going to play the guys to win the game.
All right, that's great stuff there from interim head coach David Adelman. We're going to play the guys that are going to give us the best chance to win at the end of the game, period. And, he was not lying about that, because towards the end of this game, who was in? It was Russell Westbrook, not Jalen Pickett. Why? Because Russ was playing better than Jalen Pickett tonight. And we saw the exact opposite happen in Sacramento. Jalen was significantly outplaying Russell Westbrook in Sacramento, and he closed the games out. So Adelman was not joking around. He was not mincing words when he said, I don't care what the situation is, we're going to put the best five guys out there to help us win games that are playing the best in those games. And that's exactly what he did tonight. He stuck to his word. Really, really cool stuff there from David Adelman. I really do hope he gets a crack at being the Nuggets head coach. We'll see what happens. A lot of this is going to depend on what happens in the playoffs. And like I said Wednesday night after they beat the Kings, I suspect that the Nuggets, with what's coming out about what was going on here with the team, unfortunately, I suspect that they're probably just going to want to clean house and start over from a GM perspective and a coaching perspective. I know a lot of these assistant coaches, Popeye, David Adelman, Ryan Saunders. I mean, these guys are really good coaches. So I do hope that they get a chance to stick around, but we'll see what happens, because there's also been a couple of reports of, the Alabama head coach, possibly the Nuggets and him having mutual interest. Some no-name guy on Twitter put out that Dan Hurley and the Nuggets may have mutual interest. If that is true, I will just say I do think that would be a mistake because Dan Hurley is a very similar coach to Michael Malone in the sense of he's a very intense, kind of no-nonsense guy. And I think one of the biggest differences we're seeing right now with the Nuggets these last two games is David Adelman. He's a very smart guy. There's no doubt about that. And he's a professional. But he is definitely more laid back than Michael Malone was. He's not nearly as intense. He's very direct. He's very to the point. This is what I'm expecting from you guys. This is what I want to see. And if you do these things, we're going to win basketball games. Now, what I will say about tonight's game, and look, the same issues are still popping up for the Nuggets. There's no question about that. Their perimeter defense tonight I thought was atrocious. The Grizzlies were really on fire, and the Nuggets to start this game, I believe they started 1 of 14 from 3. Now, they finished 5 of 24. They shot 20.8% from 3 tonight, and they won by 8 points. That is actually pretty shocking. The Grizzlies were 14 of 43. They took 19 more three-point attempts than the Denver Nuggets did. But really, what helped win the Nuggets this basketball game was they were even in the turnover battle. So I think they only had, 7 turnovers against the Kings. They had 13 tonight. But considering their season average of close to 17, that's a win. And it was even between both teams. So that was sort of a wash. But what really won this game tonight for the Nuggets was the paint. The Nuggets outscored the Grizzlies by 20 points in the painted area, 72-52. And a lot of that was, how good is it to see Aaron Gordon back in the dunker position? He's living there right now. And I do think that is a credit to David Adelman, who, look, let's not forget, David Adelman has been with this team for 8 years. And he has been the offensive guru, the offensive coordinator of the Nuggets for the better part of 8 years. So the offense is fine, and they're going to be fine. Now, the big question is going to be, can the Nuggets play a level of defense that will allow them to stay in games down the stretch here, their final game in Houston, and into the playoffs? That's going to be the key for this team. The offense is going to be there, okay? Jamal's back. Nikola Jokic is having the best season of probably any NBA player ever. The offense I'm not worried about. The defense left a little bit to be desired tonight. Now, I will say Jokic definitely played a little bit more in tonight's game, more minutes. I think he played better defensively in Wednesday night's game against the Kings, in part because, first off, he wasn't having to carry the load on the offensive end. In fact, at one point in the first, I think he took 4 shots in the first half of that game, and one of them was like a half-court heave at the end of the second quarter. If he's not having to carry the load on the offensive end, that allows him to expend more energy and effort on the defensive end. He was working harder tonight on the offensive end, and I do think that impacted the Nuggets negatively on the defensive end because there were a lot of blow-bys when Joker was in around the rim on the defensive side of the basketball tonight. But I do think that's going to be a recipe for success for this team moving forward. Look, I've said for years now, I've been saying this. The Nuggets are at their best when Nikola Jokic doesn't have to be the go-to scorer. They're at their best when he has a game like he did tonight, like he did Wednesday in Sacramento. That's when they're at their best. When he's allowed to distribute the basketball, especially early on in games, and get his teammates involved, get their confidence level up. When he's allowed to be their sort of secondary scorer and be a distributor first, this team is much, much more successful. In fact, I believe they've only won one game when Nikola Jokic has had 50-plus points. I think they're 1-4 if I have that right. Actually, I think they're 0-4. Excuse me, 0-4 when he scores 50 or more. So the last couple of games, I think David Adelman has been very cognizant of not putting all of the burden on Nikola Jokic on the offensive end, scoring the basketball. And look, having Jamal Murray back obviously helps ease the pressure off of Joker a little bit on the offensive end. Aaron Gordon looks like he's back. 33 points tonight from AG. He took 23 shots. He took 4 more shots than Joker did. Nikola was 11 for 19. And look, I'll take 26 points every night of the week from Joker. If he wants to be right around 30, I mean, that's great. But when Joker and the Nuggets are at their best is exactly what we saw tonight. 16 rebounds, 13 assists. He did play 41 minutes. And I get it. You know, at this point in the year, these are do or die sort of games. So I do understand why David Adelman brought him back early in the fourth quarter. There was 9.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter when David Adelman brought back in Nikola Jokic, and the Nuggets were down at that point. So I get it. I mean, at this point of the year, in the situation that this team is in a close game where you're down in the fourth quarter, I understand the decision. It had to be done. It was the right move. And when Joker came back in, the Nuggets started to take over and eventually were able to pull away in this game. And by the way, the defense in the fourth quarter tonight was outstanding. They were awful in the first. They were pretty good in the second. They were awful again in the third. But in the fourth quarter, they only gave up 14 points. That is a good sign moving forward because, like I've said in the past, the year the Nuggets won the NBA championship, their defense wasn't elite by any means. I mean, they were like right around middle of the pack as far as all 30 NBA teams. I believe they were 15th in defensive rating. But they were really, really good the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. They were the number one clutch time defense in the NBA that season. So they figured out ways to really lock teams down in the fourth quarter, specifically the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. And that's kind of what we saw here tonight. By the way, just really quick before I get to some of your comments, little side note from tonight's game. First of all, I thought Tony Brothers was just absolutely awful. Okay, Michael Porter Jr. gets slapped in the face, and he's hunched over. No call. I mean, what are we doing here? Tony Brothers is the bane of Nuggets fans' existence. But there was a very interesting thing going on here tonight at Ball Arena. So John Morant has been in a lot of hot water with the gun celebration gesture, and we all know that John Morant has gotten in trouble several times by the league, one of them infamously here in Colorado at a strip club. So he ditched that because the league kind of brought the hammer down and said no more. Well, now he's doing like tossing a grenade into the crowd. Now, according to John Morant, he's saying he's taking his words out of his mouth and throwing it in the crowd. It doesn't look like that at all. Okay, that's just a terrible excuse. But whenever he did that, he does it after 3-point makes. I'm telling you, the crowd inside of Ball Arena here tonight was livid at that. I mean, he was getting mercifully booed anytime he did that. It was a very interesting dynamic. There's no doubt about it. So I'm trying to find now the league's saying his grenade celebration. No, Morant is saying he's going to keep doing the grenade celebration until it's a problem, according to John Morant. He was just fined $75,000 recently for mimicking pointing a long gun after a basket from outside the arc. I'm just kind of going through this article on ESPN. He said, quote, "That's my celebration now until somebody else has a problem with it, and I'll find another one." Man, what is this guy doing? What is he doing? After all of the trouble he's gotten into with guns. So anyways, that was just sort of a weird little game within the game kind of thing going on here at Ball Arena tonight. And I'm telling you, I mean, the entire building was, anytime he did it, was pissed and booing him mercifully. So it was actually a shout out to Nuggets fans because that is a dumb celebration. and he deserved to be booed. All right, let's get to some of your comments here before we hear from David Adelman whenever that gets posted, because David's great in his post-game press conferences, and I really do want to hear what he has to say after the Nuggets get the big victory over the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. We'll just start at the top here. How good did Gabe look? I was watching that sort of on the side here at the game. I know that question's for Raj and Spring, but he did get into a little skirmish and put a dude in a headlock. That was awesome to see. I saw him taking hits. He dished out a couple of big hits. That was absolutely fantastic. All right, Ant-Man, the doctor, says, avoiding the play-in, what a feat with the best player in the league on the roster. Crying emoji. Look, I get it. I'm in the boat of when you have Nikola Jokic, you should be probably a top 3 seed in the West. But with the injuries that this team has dealt with this year, I think the fact that they're on track to get a first-round home court advantage playoff series is quite an accomplishment. And let's not forget, Nikola Jokic missed 5 games just less than a month ago. So Jamal Murray was just out for a while. Aaron Gordon's missed over 30 games this year. Michael Porter Jr. missed some time with a hamstring. I think if the Nuggets can stay in the 4 seed, which they are right now, that would actually be a pretty good accomplishment for this team. All right, my guy Andon says, yes, Nuggets are looking true to form. This is Nuggets basketball. Fourth quarter felt like watching games from 2 seasons ago. So stoked to see this team play like we know they can. That's a really good point, and I kind of brought that up earlier. That fourth quarter defense, that is what we were accustomed to seeing 2 years ago when they won the NBA championship. So we'll see if it's a one-off, but if the Nuggets can figure out a way to string some games together where their defense really picks it up in the fourth quarter, that is going to be a massive boost for this team, especially in the playoffs. It's going to be absolutely massive. Mr. Punch Rock Groin says, Gordon exploded, Murray hit some shots, and of course, Yoke, but Westbrook may be the hero. Hey, I've been hard on Russ. I know a lot of fans are frustrated with Russ. This is the Russell Westbrook experience, everybody. I told you at the beginning of the season, Russ, there's going to be games where Nuggets fans love Russell Westbrook, and there's going to be games where Nuggets fans want to pull their hair out watching Russell Westbrook play basketball. It's just going to be peaks and valleys, and that's just the way it is. And tonight he peaked. And a credit to Russ, he really bounced back well tonight after struggling over the last couple of weeks. Let's just be honest. I thought he was much more in control tonight. Didn't turn the ball over as much, which was great to see. And he came in and gave this team a scoring punch off the bench. And he scored 14 points tonight. He was the leading scorer off the bench for the Nuggets. In a game where Jalen Pickett went scoreless and he only played 10 minutes. So that was great to see. And he only had 2 turnovers. Plus 11. Fantastic. And he hit all 5 of his free throws. So credit where credit's due. I thought Russ had a really good bounce back game tonight. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Chris says MPJ needs to get it together. Yeah, that's one of the things that is very concerning to me right now for the Nuggets. Although they won their last 2 games, 2 really good wins in the post-Michael Malone era. But man, Michael Porter has just been on like a prolonged shooting slump. It seems like he was 4 for 8 against the Kings. So he did have a nice game against the Kings. But Michael's problem is the problem that I've been talking about for years. He's way too inconsistent. Way too inconsistent. He goes 0 for 2 from 3 tonight, just 2 of 8 from the field and 7 points. In fact, he was the only minus of the starters, was Michael Porter Jr. There were a couple of possessions in the second half where he just got completely lost and lost his man on the defensive end, leading to just wide open threes for the Memphis Grizzlies. That is a concern. And if Michael's going to, have bad defensive performances like I thought he had tonight, he's got to make up for it with his shooting ability on the offensive end. And unfortunately, that just really hasn't been a case a lot of the games this year. Okay, let's see here. What was the fan appreciation gift? I honestly have no idea. I apologize. I do not know what it was, but I know there was $3 popcorn and beer, so that's fantastic. Let's see. Craig says Russ so locked in tonight. Yes, he was. He was. Patrick says if Russ wants a ring, he has to stay under control and play like he did tonight. That's the key. You're right, Craig. Or excuse me, Patrick. You're right. Russ has to stay under control. And there was a couple of fast breaks tonight where in the past we'd see Russ kind of go throw up a wild shot. He dished it off to the open man. Boom, easy layup. That's what Russell Westbrook needs to do for the Nuggets for the rest of the season. Let's see here. Grizzlies were gassed, says Patrick. Yeah, you forget that they got their asses whooped in Minnesota last night. And I think that is part of what happened there in the fourth quarter was the Grizzlies just simply ran out of gas. Okay. Kenna says, I'm sold on the Nuggets for a start. Wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see them in the finals, if not champs. Wow. Hey, I like the optimism. Isn't it amazing how your attitude and mindset can change with just a couple of wins? And I'm not blaming you for that, by the way. It just really is kind of incredible. That's just who the Nuggets have been this year. Like there's been stretches this season where I'm like, oh, this team can win a championship this year. And then you go through stretches like the 4-game losing streak where you're like, this team might not get out of the play-in tournament. That's how bad they were playing. But I will say, for whatever reason, if this is just sort of a high that they're on right now with the coaching change and a boost of energy, can that last? We'll see. But the energy and effort this team is playing with is significantly better than it has been, unfortunately, over the last couple of weeks when Malone was still here. All right, let's see here. High Wisdom says, watch the end of the game. I thought, what year am I in? LOL. Yeah, they that fourth quarter defense was shades of the 2023 Denver Nuggets championship team. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Okay. Somebody says, have D-Mac lace him up, bring him off the bench, easy dubs in the playoffs. Oh, my goodness. I would pay money to see D-Mac on an NBA court. That would be absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Okay, so, look, the Nuggets have one more game to go against the Houston Rockets coming up on Sunday. And like I said earlier, the Rockets are locked into the 2 seed. That is done. So I would be shocked if the Houston Rockets played any of their main guys. In fact, let's look at who they're playing tonight. They're getting crushed by the Lakers right now. Here's their starting lineup tonight. Jeff Green, Cam Whitmore, Jock Landale, Jalen Green, and Reed Shepherd. So that's probably going to be their lineup against the Nuggets coming up on Sunday. And honestly, I'd be surprised if Jalen Green played, to be perfectly honest with you, in that game. So that is very, very good news for the Denver Nuggets. But, we've seen this team lose twice to the Washington Wizards this year. So no game is a gimme. I want the Nuggets to have the mindset going into that game. It's a must win because it is. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the Warriors are beating up on the Trailblazers. Looks like they're going to win. The Clippers have a 6-point lead over the Kings right now with about 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. So if these guys win, Sunday will be a must win for the Denver Nuggets against the Houston Rockets. There's just no doubt about it. It's going to be a big one. All right, a couple of more comments here. Going back on the DMAC thing. The short excuse is BS. Look at Vic. He played football at Notre Dame. Oh, my goodness. It's funny. I was talking to Vic in the press room before the game, and he was talking about how upset he was that his parents weren't taller, and so that he would have genetics that would make him at least 6 feet tall. That's what we were discussing in the locker room. And he also said, I wish I had Scott Hastings' DNA. Yeah, a lot of people are saying Towel Boy for D-Mac. But hey, shout out to D-Mac tonight, everybody. He was up in, like I said, he was here pregame for Adelman's pregame presser, and then he and Rachel Vigil drove up I-25 to Loveland to see Gabe Landeskog in his debut for the Colorado Eagles. His first game in almost 3 years, and then he's racing back down here, and he's already posting videos of in fact, let me see if I can play this for you guys. This is kind of cool. He raced back down here to get more Nuggets coverage. That's great stuff. DMAC is he's a different breed. Let me share this this cool video DMAC posted from the fan giveaway tonight here in Ball Arena. There you go. There you go. Katie. People are screaming at Katie to get her autograph. That's fantastic. You should see Scott Hastings here at Nuggets games. It is awesome. Everybody just loves that guy. Everywhere he goes, Scott, Scott, Scott. He knows everybody. That is that's fantastic. All right, everybody. Great win for the Nuggets tonight. I'm going to run downstairs and see if there's any pressers going on still. I'll try and get some video of that for you. I'll tweet it out at DanTanner091 on Twitter. DMAC will have some of that stuff for you as well. But just a massive win for the Nuggets. This was an absolute must win. Sunday against the Houston Rockets is going to be an absolute must win for the Nuggets if they want to stay in the 4 seed and avoid the play-in, because that still is a possibility. But if they can win on Sunday, then they don't have to worry about it. And they're going to be hosting a first-round playoff series. And look, again, David Adelman, pregame, he believes in this team this season. And I think the players in that locker room believe that they can do something special. Now, whatever I think or whatever anybody listening thinks, I said on Wednesday with KJ, in my heart of hearts, I probably would say this team's ceiling is the Western Conference Finals. But anytime you have Nikola Jokic on your basketball team, you have a shot. And that's what the Nuggets have going for them right now. Jamal's back. Aaron Gordon looks better than he has all season long. Christian Brown, by the way, one more thing I forgot to mention. Christian Brown, they're trying to get him the most improved player in the league award, excuse me. And I'm trying to find on the Nuggets Twitter here. They tweeted out everybody pregame on the Nuggets during their warmups were wearing these shirts for Christian. So that was really cool to see. And honestly, I've praised Christian all year. Coach Adelman said before the game, he was talking about those shirts. Christian Brown, in my opinion, and I think a lot of Nuggets fans' opinions, and I know in the coaching staff's opinions, because Adelman said as much before the game, Christian Brown has far exceeded expectations this year for the Denver Nuggets. He has been absolutely fantastic. His improvement from his rookie year to now is night and day. He's shooting the ball much better with much more confidence, and he's one of the best transition scorers in the NBA. I mean, he's one of the leading transition scorers in the NBA right now. Okay, I found these shirts that I'm talking about that the Nuggets were wearing. Let's show you that here real quick. So on the front, what can Brown do for you? Let's see if we can get a picture of the back of these. It says MIP, most improved player, and then it's got its minutes per game, points per game, something fast break points per game, and field goal percentage. And it literally has the stats on there saying how much he's improved in each one of those areas. So that was just a cool moment for the Nuggets. That shows that I think this team has really come together after the firing of head coach Michael Malone, and they are really, really relying on each other right now to make this thing work and to try and be as competitive as they possibly can be coming up for the playoffs that are starting here in just about a week, everybody. It's going to be fun. That's going to do it for the postgame show tonight. Nuggets get the 117-109 victory over the Memphis Grizzlies. They're in the 4 seed currently, and if they can get a win coming up on Sunday against the Houston Rockets, they will be secured and locked into the 4 seed and will be hosting a playoff series here at Ball Arena. And it's going to be interesting to see, where the chips fall as far as who they're going to be playing. If they do indeed get the 4 seed, just a quick update here on the scores. The Rockets are getting crushed. They're going to lose to the Lakers. The Kings are making it a game. It's a 4-point game with 7.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. That would be massive for the Nuggets if the Clippers were to lose, because the Nuggets hold the tiebreaker over the Clippers. The Brooklyn Nets didn't do us any favors. They got absolutely destroyed by Minnesota tonight, 117-91 is your final there. So, look, with all that being said, again, just win and you're in the 4 seed for the Denver Nuggets. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We'll be back on Sunday to react to Nuggets and Rockets. We'll have playoff scenarios finalized by that point, I believe, and we'll get into it and dig into the playoffs for your Denver Nuggets. This has been In the Paint right here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.